We are live.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Police Off the Cuff After Hours. My name is Mark DeMeo. I'm your host. I'm here with my partner, in all things law enforcement, the co-host of this show, the very handsome Bill Cannon. What's up, Bill?
What's going on, Mark? I don't know. It seems like you're freezing up a little bit. Hang on a second. Let me edge you back. You're on tape delay, it seems.
I know it's weird. I told you about that. Still,
you got to pay for your Wi-Fi. You haven't been paying for your bills. I think
it's funny that you mention that. Could let me log back in and accept me back in, okay?
Sure. No, I'm not. I'm going to kick you out. I'm not letting you back in.
Hold on, man. This sucks.
We should probably we should also introduce Bridget. Well, I'll let Mark introduce when he comes back. Mark's having a little Wi-Fi problem right now, but it's okay. Let's see if he comes back in. Anyway, on tonight's show, we have Bridget Truxillo.
Yep.
She's a lawyer, and she's actually a JD, and she's a CFE, which I happen to know stands for Certified Fraud Examiner. So she's got all the tools. She's a former law enforcement. You work down in Florida, right?
Yes, in Alachua County Sheriff's Office in Gainesville, Florida. University of Florida. Go Gators.
Whoa, look at that. And tell us about some of the jobs you had during your tenure in law enforcement.
Of course, I started out in patrol, like most everybody does. But about a year in, or a little bit less than a year in, I went to the undercover narcotics unit. And then I spent almost the rest of my time until about the last 3 months in undercover narcotics. And then while I was in the narcotics unit, I overlapped in the SWAT team. So I was the only female member of the SWAT team. And because we weren't a full-time team the way some larger agencies, we were what's considered a call-out team, but I loved it. We got to train all the time, got to compete in a couple SWAT competitions in Orlando at SWAT Roundup International. So that was really fun. And because I did that, that's why I left to go to law school. So.
Wow. You just summed up your whole life in like 4 sentences.
I did. What? Yeah.
When did you get the chance to star in Scarface?
Well, that would have been
cool. You
cool.
get that a lot?
Yeah. No.
You get that a lot?
No, I don't actually.
What's her name? Mary Elizabeth Mastriano. You look
Mastrantonio.
Mastrantonio. Yeah, you look like her.
Really?
You never got that before?
No. I get Michelle Pfeiffer sometimes, but that's been a long time.
But I'm telling you, that's the first thing I thought about when I was like, wow, I wonder how she squeezed all that in.
Yeah, I feel like I've squeezed. I feel like I'm on like life 7 of 9 so far.
Yeah, me too. So you were a deputy sheriff in Florida. Where were you in Florida when you do that?
Alachua County Sheriff's Office, which is the office is in Gainesville, Florida, which is where the University of Florida is. I went to University of Florida for my undergraduate degree. Actually graduated in horticulture just because I wanted to get the F out of college. And because I was in my 4th year of engineering when I decided to change my major. So then I just had to get out. And the week after I graduated University of Florida, I went to the police academy. People always ask me why, and I joke around and say it's because I watched G.I. Jane and I thought it looked cool. And then, I went to the police academy and got hired in the academy. It's not like in like NYPD. I don't know if you get paid while you're in the academy, but in Florida, you're not. But I got paid by the sheriff's office while I was there, and then started out, hit the ground running at the sheriff's office as soon as I finished the academy. But yeah, Gainesville, Florida is where I worked.
Yeah, where is I don't even know Gainesville.
So it's you should go to a game sometime. You should experience an SEC football game if you never have, because they're a lot of fun. And
is that where the people always going like this with the gator jaws?
Oh, the Gators! This is the Gators.
Yeah. That kills me as much. The cheer I hate the most is.
Oh, that's the Seminoles.
I hate that cheer.
Yeah.
Oh,
trust me,
God,
I do too. We don't mesh. Gainesville's about 2 hours north of Orlando, so it's what's considered North Central Florida. About 2 hours north of Orlando, about an hour south west from Jacksonville. So it's easy to get to. It's fun to go to a football game. I recommend it if you get a chance.
Yeah, if they ever have people go back into stadiums after COVID, you know.
That's true. That's
It's
true.
a huge state in Florida. I think Florida's wide open though right now, so they probably will.
They're pretty wide open. I don't know what they're doing. They had restricted attendance, in the fall, this past fall. I mean, of course, that was a year like no other.
They're going all in now.
Yeah. Kind of like I'm in Texas, so kind of like Texas. Our governor said, "Have at it."
We're all going all in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love Texas and Florida. You know, they can have the New York governor and the New York mayor. They could take them to Alaska. You know,
when I was leaving New York, De Blasio was running for mayor, and I remember my husband and I would talk about it. And like, this is a mistake. This is a mistake, and he's gonna. I mean, I'm glad I got out. No offense, I love the city, but I'm glad I got out when I did.
You know whose mistake it is the electorate that elected him twice, and Cuomo 3 times. You know.
Yeah.
I
agree.
We're stuck with this guy right now for what has he got? 8 months left? 6 months left?
7 months, I think. Yeah.
De Blasio.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I heard. Was it on y'all's podcast that I heard somebody saying that it could take? It was somebody, I can't remember his name now, saying that they think it can take up to like 20 years or something to undo what De Blasio's done, or like a couple.
Besides what he's done, COVID has done tremendous damage to the city. You know, after 9/11, it took like 10 years for the city to recover from that. And this has been more devastating than 9/11. So
they're getting billions and billions of dollars from the federal government. And so people, they should be able to catch up money-wise. What they do with it, who knows? But hopefully if it's infrastructure, they put some people to work.
Well, but then also from a law enforcement perspective, the everything's happened since last summer of 2020. And then the decisions they're making in New York City and New York about law enforcement, and the fact that I can't imagine that there's not going to be even more of an exodus of law enforcement leaving after some of the decisions that have come down lately. And then that just makes the rest of the country or the world think, well, New York City is going to become a super dangerous place again. I'm not going.
This is what they're saying. Look, I don't know if you can see that. The job is dead.
Yeah.
We got
I beat you to it, Mark. So I put it on the screen. I got mine too.
That's from Aaron Rodriguez sent that to us. It's actually cool. It's because it's a bottle opener, and it's on the back. It says defunded.
And it's so heavy. If you ever had to kill somebody, that you hit them with that. This thing is like it's deadly.
It's got some weight to it. You're not going to lose it. Let's put it that way.
I should get one of those and put it in my car because somebody like snatched my purse out of my hand in my car last Friday, and I was at the Lowe's parking lot, and I chased him. My husband, of course, was
I hope you didn't chase him on foot. You chased with the car and used the car to take him down.
It happened so fast, and I was like, I'm not, it's just in me. I'm not going to let him get away.
That is ingrained in me. That's a street crime unit technique. You take him down with the car.
I wanted to so bad. I was going to get him by his dreads and take him down, and he was too quick. I don't even know how he got his door locked so fast. I was right on top of him, but I was like, my husband's like, well, you should have had your gun in the car. I'm like, babe, I'm not shooting somebody over my purse, but if I'd have had something to smack him, if I'd have had my ass with me to break his window, that would have been great. But
well, he was in a car, and he got into your car and took snatched your. What were you getting, gas?
No, so I'm in a Lowe's parking lot, and I had just put something in the back of my car, my stupid purse, which I never carry a shoulder bag for that reason. And but for that week, I had a shoulder bag, and I put it in the front, the passenger seat. And this guy, I go to walk to the back of my car, I hear something, and I see this guy running to my driver's side door, and I start screaming at him, "Oh, no, you don't! Oh, no, you don't!" And I ran up to my passenger side door and put my hand on my purse, but he snatched it. I swear he wasn't expecting. I look on his face was like, "Oh, crap!" And then. And I'm gonna try and be PG on this, unless you tell me I don't have to be. And then
you don't have to be.
Ran up. So they were totally casing the parking lot, looking for somebody to do what I did, which is to put something in the front and walk away. So they had backed into a spot, like kind of right in front of me. So he wasn't far from me at all. But I chased into his car. I was this close to grabbing him. I was right there. His door. He shut his door. I tried to open it. I don't even know how they got the door locked fast enough. I would have. And I don't know. I mean, what would he have done to me if I would have gotten it open? I didn't have any tools other than I don't want to fight somebody over my purse, but I was so mad. Anyway, it just kicked in. I'm just happy to know that I left 15 years ago, that I still have that in me to react that quick. Yeah.
That's excellent. You know,
Yeah.
someone stole my identity and
Well,
tried
that's what
to
you worry about.
they tried to apply for unemployment, but because I only made like $2,000 last year as an actor, that was what they were basing the unemployment. So I was turned down. So the bad guy was turned down with my ID because my
Good.
pension's not included in, for the unemployment. So I was like, oh, this is great. They can't even steal my identity and get any benefits.
Yeah. Yeah. Stupid criminals.
Yeah.
Well, Bridget, why don't you tell us about your business? I'll put the flyer up. That
Yeah.
there
I'd be
we go.
happy to.
Here's the flyer.
Yeah, so I started a business called the Law Enforcement Legal and Wellness Program that's specifically designed for law enforcement and first responders. I mean, certainly the title says law enforcement because that's what I know, but I believe strongly that it works for all of first responders. And what I mean by that is firefighters, EMTs, probation and parole, corrections officers, and I'd even throw in there the district attorneys who prosecute the cases because they interact with our culture. When I say our, I'm going to put myself in there still. With our culture, which is a unique, you guys know, it's a culture like nothing else. If you've never worked as a first responder, and particularly law enforcement, you have no idea what it's like. And so when I left law enforcement, to go to law school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do as an attorney, other than I knew someday I wanted to support law enforcement. So I left knowing I wanted to serve, not law enforcement. I didn't want to, rather than serve as a law enforcement officer. And so I became an attorney and learned a lot as an attorney at different law firms over the years. And then slowly was trying to figure out how I could give back. And about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, started, got like, this is it. I don't want to do this law firm crap anymore. And knowing that I wanted to do something with wellness, I wanted to do something for law enforcement officers to feel supported, because when I was a deputy, especially when I was in the narcotics unit and on the SWAT team, I didn't feel like I was getting any support from my department. And then I felt like it was hard even then from a public perspective, because like when 9/11, I was a cop when 9/11 happened, deputy, when 9/11 happened. And even though I was far removed from New York City, I remember I was on patrol and a fire truck drove by and people on the street were stopping and clapping for the fire truck. And then I get dispatched to a call. I walk up to the door. I think it was a domestic or something. And the guy opens the door and he's, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And I was like, "Thank you. You called me. What can I do for you?" And so it's just the dichotomy of the difference in how law enforcement is treated and just not appreciated, I felt even then. And so that's what I wanted to do, was create something to give law enforcement the support that they're lacking, which also is the reason why not just wellness, but I include the legal support. So the program gives you, if you're a member, you get access to an attorney for legal advice whenever you need, or on whatever you need. So it does not have to be job related. It can be. You could call and say, "Hey, this is what my crappy supervisor is doing to me. Can I do anything about it?" We can give you advice. If you want to start a business, your wife is messing up child custody agreement, you want me to review your will, you want to start a nonprofit, I mean, we can give you legal advice, because cops can't afford that. You cannot afford an hour, a retainer or a consultation fee. And yet I know from living that, like if I would have had somebody like me to call when I was dealing with the crap at my department, I just would have felt better knowing I had somebody to turn to, and somebody to turn to that was not part of my department.
Bridget, could you imagine what cops are going through right now?
No.
Last night on the show with Ed Mullins, we had the president of the PBA from Seattle. And I mean, look what those guys are going through there. They are leaving that department in droves.
I can't imagine.
Fleeing to other departments. The nuts who run that city, they're out of their mind,
Yep.
And let me tell you something, New York City could become a Seattle if we don't get some different people on the city council, different mayor, different people in government, because they are out of their minds too, these people.
I agree.
They have this progressive woke attitude that is not conducive to law enforcement.
I'm in a leadership group, and it's a great group with a lot of support, and I really like it. And I shared how I was doing this program just to get some more support, or get somebody to sign up for my newsletter, just to get the word out there. And somebody commented back saying, I would really love for you to explore the idea of community policing. And okay, what do you mean by that? And she's like, instead of law enforcement having the communities police on their own, like, what are you even talking about? I mean, then you're just going to create a different type of law enforcement. Somebody has to help protect you. Somebody has to deal with the dredges that you have no idea even exist in your neighborhood, probably. So, I mean,
but you know what it is, Bridget? They're confused because these nutcases convince the government, defund the police, give the money to the community. You know, that's what they say. Now, what do you mean the community? What's the community going to do with it except have some politicians steal it? You know, it's really pathetic. You know, and these people, like, they want to pay gangbangers not to gangbang. You know, that's a brilliant idea.
Well, is it New York City? I saw that they appointed a cop killer to a panel to help.
That's the city. That's the city of Ithaca, which has Cornell College, Cornell University, Ithaca College. Yeah, that's another woke city upstate.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean that doesn't. I mean, that's just. I can't. I just can't. I can't.
It's unbelievable. You know.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
It's horrible. I mean, get some woke people if you want, but don't get somebody who actually murdered cops. Like,
no.
Come on.
In our live chat, Melody McAtee, good to see you here. Michael McAuliffe, Oscar Ferrafino. Oscar, you're a regular. Thank you so much for coming by. MC's Audio, Mike Colon. Joanne Blasich, the extraordinary math teacher from Long Island. Scotty Wagner, thanks for the $4.99 super chat, Scott. Peter Pranzo and Rachella Pranzo, you guys are our #1 and #2 fans. You guys are here every single night. Juana Vila from Pearland, Texas. It's so good to see people from Texas.
That's Pearland. It's about 30 minutes.
Pearland. Howdy. Isn't that what they say in Texas? Yeah. Howdy.
Well, we say y'all for sure.
Y'all and howdy. And there was someone here from California. Deputy Inspector, Full Inspector Ron Schindel. Ania Benania Estrell. Rita McCrary from San Diego. Look at this. We're catching on all over the world. Armando Rodriguez. Sandra Rivera, great to see you. Did you run your 9 miles today? Christopher Strom, the great Christopher Strong, From Brooklyn to Baghdad, his book. I think I shouted out to just about everyone who's here right now. Peter Lavin, great to see you, Pete. Listen, any of you guys that are not subscribed to our YouTube, could you please do so? We're trying to get our numbers up on YouTube. And even though we pick up people on our Patreon every week, we lose people every week. So we get nervous that we're not loved. So if you could please, if you're not on our Patreon, sign up for our Patreon. We have 3 tiers for $7. What's the $7 one? You're the bucket. And for $9, you can polish my rack. And for $11, you can dip whatever you want in butter. And that's on our coffee mug. So please join our Patreon.
So let's ask you, what kind of in your law firm that you help mostly with the law enforcement and first responders? What was most of the cases that you wind up helping them with? What's the most cases you get?
Well, I mean, as we're getting started, it's anything. It's that we are law enforcement, and we understand. My law partner, Joy Hersher, who also has a phenomenal foundation called the Unbroken Project to help support individuals through PTSD and suicide prevention. He himself, in fact, that's how I'm connected with you guys, is he's open about the fact that he has thought about or attempted suicide twice. And he's very passionate about helping support law enforcement and first responders in that. So we've partnered together on a law firm, and it's just anything that they need. But it's the fact that we understand the life of a cop and the stressors that they live through. And so, if you're going to pay somebody, you'd love to pay somebody that has lived your world. So, I mean, he's a nonprofit, general business law, some family law advice. I don't like family law. I can certainly give advice, but it's been mostly business law and nonprofit law so far, with officers trying to put together some nonprofits, which is great. But it's a general business firm, a general law. I mean, we don't specialize. It's just anything for law enforcement.
Mark, she actually discovered Dr. Stephen Washkill through our show, and I told her what a fantastic man he is. And he, if folks listening don't know who he is a brilliant doctor. He lives in Staten Island, but he's a suicide prevention doctor. And when I tell you he is a superstar in that field and a really great human being, he really is. That's Dr. Stephen Washkill.
Let's talk a little bit about the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. How are you involved with that? And
well, mostly because I'm a geek.
Because I need your help.
Well, so years ago, before I even was in law enforcement, I worked at the job I had gave me a lot of customer service training. And it's actually a company called O2B Kids. It's a children's entertainment facility, which sounds like no relation to this at all. But the manager that I worked for, who was still a mentor of mine, would train us. I mean, for a minimum wage an hour job, we were getting trained on 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So it's something I've learned in my 20s. And then really has guided me in so many different ways. But the way that it relates to anything, as a parent, as a person, but the way that it relates to law enforcement, and to break it down without geeking out on it completely and spending the next 3 hours talking about the habits. The first 3 habits have to do with, like, the first one is be proactive. And what I mean by that is you start with yourself, and it's foundational principles of, if you can look at who you are, what the paradigm or the lens with which you see things, and understanding that you might have been given the wrong lens from a long time ago, or through too much stress over the job. And if you really sit down and look at it and say, who is the person I want to be, and what are my core foundational principles of how I want to live, and then taking that to say, okay, well then how can I put that into action? So the first 3 is look at who you are and make sure you're very clear on that, and then figure out if you need to adjust a little bit. And then the second 3 are, how do you interact with other people based on that? And what I like to say about the second 3 is, I wish I could get all supervisors and executives in law enforcement to focus on the second 3. Like, do the first 3 because everybody needs to be good, have a good foundation. But like, how are you relating people? How are you listening to people? I mean, imagine if your supervisor would have come on calls with you and then say, and then at the end of the call said, how can I support you better in this situation? How do you think that call went? Is there anything how you could have done that better? Explaining why a policy might be the way it is, because if people are hungry to know more, because then if they know better, then they do better. And so the way that the 7 habits apply to law enforcement, and actually wrote an article that'll be in the Police Chief magazine, it'll be published in June, the way that can help reduce injury for law enforcement is by focusing on those internal principles first and being clear on who you are. Then that gives you the ability to control your own responses. And so you can hopefully learn how to control your reaction. So instead of reacting, you're choosing what your response is going to be, and hopefully get into less altercations. Now, you can't always control that, and you guys know that from law enforcement. I think I saw on your Facebook page that there was a video, or maybe one of your episodes, there was a video of some NYPD officers taking down a guy, and because I remember, because there was a girl that came in to help, and turns out that guy had a gun in the back of his pocket. Like, you can't control
the reason we showed that was to demonstrate the damage of the diaphragm law, that these cops were trying to adhere to the diaphragm law, and as a result put their lives in great danger.
Yep.
Well, and that's what we.
Well, and I love that too, because it's all the different ways that you can't control. There's so much about law enforcement you can't control. You cannot control the culture. You cannot control what I mean, not culture. Well, you can't really control the culture you work in very much, unless you work your way through the ranks. And hopefully, like you guys know, you can't control city council. Can't control the New York City Council, which is making all these awful decisions. The only thing you can control is yourself. And law enforcement goes into this. Everybody goes into this job for a reason, because you want to help. Hopefully not because you enjoy the power you have over people, because that's the wrong reasons.
Oh, that's exactly why I signed up, for the power.
Yeah.
So I could look in the mirror and say, "Hey, officer, why are you wearing white socks?"
Yeah.
Hey, I got a good question over here from Anya. And it says, do teenagers and children with police parents get counseling as well? Just asking because I'm sure children try to understand why mom and dad, or mom or dad, is always working a lot, or kids who worry about their loved ones.
Now, from that, so my guess, I can be a lawyer in so many different ways. So my question would be, let me ask more questions. So counseling from the perspective of, like therapeutic counseling or like talking to a lawyer. She probably doesn't mean talking to a lawyer. It's one of the things we do through my business is partner with a lot of different associations who provide different types of resources. And one of those being, very importantly, family support. There's more and more, and maybe because I just see it more now with my owning a business, is that there are more and more organizations and groups and Facebook groups that are there to support not the officer, but the families of the officer or the families of the firefighters, because they're the ones at home that are being left and worried and scared, and they see all the stuff on the news to talk about that. So definitely there are a lot of associations that support the families. And I think that's very important. It's a very important conversation to have because the stressors don't just apply to the officer, they apply to the family at home.
Mark, I think I'm going to go to a quick commercial.
Yeah.
Okay. Folks, taxes are being raised in New York. New York is out of control, all right? So if you're looking to relocate to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Carol Waters of the Beach Realty Group has been buying and selling property in the Myrtle Beach area for 11 years now. Carol and her husband, Rob Mahan, who's a retired FDNY firefighter, and he also worked on the NYPD, they work as a team. Carol has been a multi-million-dollar producer for the past 10 years. They have great knowledge of all aspects of the real estate industry, and Carol is well known around the Irish community in New York. She worked in Fitzpatrick's Manhattan Hotel for over 20 years behind the stick. That's being a bartender for you folks that have never been in a bar. Originally born in the Bronx and brought up in County Mayo, Ireland. Contact Carol Waters for all your real estate needs in the Myrtle Beach area. Carol Waters, sell Myrtle Beach at gmail.com. 914-261-6681. She's waiting for your call. Someone from our show called up and asked to use their services already. So it seems like this commercial may be working.
That was me, Bill.
Oh, that was you. You don't count. That's a good technique, though. I should call and say, yeah, I'm thinking about it.
No, I'm actually, when I hear the commercial, I want to do it. I want to move. I want to, because, Bridget was talking about the climate in New York, and the only thing that's keeping me here right now are my kids. I don't appreciate the weather. I really don't need any of it. We could do this. I could do this podcast from
Soviet Union.
Yeah. What's funny too is that most of the we were having such a hard time, Bill and I, getting retired cops. And now that we started with Zoom and now we're doing StreamYard, we get them all because they're all in Florida. Most of the people that we talk to are in Florida.
That's right. That's right.
But South Carolina sounds beautiful, man. And I'm not crazy about Florida so much, but South Carolina really, really intrigues me. So I think I might give her a call. I want to look at some, like maybe a 2-bedroom co-op or something like that, like close, on the beach, something like that.
And Mark, while you're going to Myrtle Beach, maybe you should speak about the hot sauce.
Oh, well, this is our other sponsor. We got 2 sponsors here. We're looking good. Listen up, guys and gals. We are sponsored by the best hot sauce in the world. Silk City Hot Sauce is made from small batches with pure ingredients. They use locally grown peppers, and that is the foundation of every single bottle of Silk City Hot Sauce. There are several flavors from mild to wild, and the labels are out of control. The labels are actually artwork, and they're beautiful. And since I'm on this diet, and I've lost 12 pounds, by the way, the only food excitement that I get is by using the Silk City Hot Sauce. And if you want to try it out, please do. You go to silkcityhotsauce.com. There's many flavors there. You got Bobby's Big Chipotle, Aztec Attack, Badass Juice, Slurp, Mango Madness, Climate Change, Maple Dragon, Killer Hot, Ghost Whisper. If you put if you put OTC in the coupon code, you get 15% off. It's only like $6 for a bottle. You grab 4 or 5 bottles for $25, and you are hooked up. You are hooked up, especially if you grill. Great stuff to put on. I've been grilling lately, and I throw it on my fish.
Bridget's from Louisiana. She would probably laugh at that hot sauce. They used to really, really hot sauce in Louisiana, right?
Well, we have our different hot sauces. So there's Tabasco, which is different than Crystal, and you use them for different things. They probably, if you're not from Louisiana, you don't really know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, some of those super hot things, I'm a sissy on that because Tabasco and crystals are actually not that hot. But we use them with our gumbo for one, po' boys for the other, the different uses.
Yeah, I actually went to Florida to Disney World, and that was the first time they had I don't know where we went, which park we were in, but they had a whole thing. It was Mardi Gras Day, so they had all the food there,
yeah.
and you could out the gumbo, and the other thing you mentioned,
Po' boys.
and yeah, crocodile. They had crocodile too. You could get some crocodile. The po' boy, yeah, I had one of those.
It's delicious. If you've never been to New Orleans, and if you ever go, please send me a message, and I will give you lots of great recommendations, because my husband's from New Orleans, and we know all the great po' boy spots and food spots. And that, by the way, it's another city where the mayor is destroying it. The shutdowns, it's just the economy is it's gonna take them a decade to at least to recover, which is already a city that they need that money to fund safety programs, and I don't know how they're going to function. But it's a fun city.
Bridget, I got both my COVID shots, so I'm good to go. I'm vaccinated, and I'm leaving Saturday night to go to Florida. And I think I told you I'm going to Isla Mirada in the Keys to go fishing. I may even do a show from there, just a touristy show. Mark's doing the police off the cuff. I may do a live from Isla Mirada. Here's Fisherman Bill, I don't know.
You should. I love Isla Mirada. I was telling you earlier, my dad lived down there for years. So when I went to law school, I was at a small Catholic university in North Miami, and I was broke. And it was before I met my husband. And I would spend all my free time with my dad, so I could spend, he'd buy my beer or whatever.
Spend his money. That's right.
Spend his money. So he paid for my beer and my food when I was with him. And so we would spend a lot of time on the boat. I've spent a lot of time fishing around the Keys, and I got married in the Keys. I absolutely love it.
What kind of fish did you catch down there?
Dolphin or mahi-mahi, a lot of times, but I love the grouper. I love grouper. Really love it.
Mahi gives you a pretty good fight too.
They do. They're really, especially when you get to the 25, 30, 35 pound ones, they're really, really fun, and they're beautiful when they come out of the water. You almost hate to keep them, but
I know as they start dying, their colors, just like a real dead body, their colors start fading. Right. Like you feel bad. You're like, oh my God, the fish is dying,
Yeah. And there's a limit to them. So thankfully you can't just load your boat up, but because if you get into a school of them and you catch a whole bunch, that's super fun too.
That's great. We had unfortunately, the other night I spoke to you about it. We had a deputy inspector in the NYPD take his own life. And it was the first one in a long time. And I think we may want to just touch upon that, since Dr. Steve actually is in the audience right now. And Dr. Stephen Washkill. And, some of the indicators of suicide, talking about wanting to take your life, looking for a way to kill oneself, talking about feeling hopeless or having no purpose. Anyway, apparently this deputy inspector had shown some of those signs, and it was very sad that no one could save him,
Yeah. That's super. Obviously, I think anybody in law enforcement, any human, hopefully, but within our world, it's something that's so important to all of us to do what we can to support those individuals that need help. And my experience in law enforcement, you guys can probably, I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but a lot of times to me, it was the ones who they didn't know about, like who don't say anything. It's the ones like you'd get calls like, I'm going to kill myself, and not to take that lightly at all. That's not what I mean. But I feel like it's the ones who would talk about it more or say it more were the ones like, yes, get help. But it's the silent ones that were the scariest, meaning, would you know, and is it too late? And I heard somebody say one time, and I love that Dr. Steve is on the call. He and I have been trying to connect recently about getting together. So let's get together. Because I don't think you could say enough about providing support or bringing awareness to it. But one of I heard somebody say one time, a lady who lost her husband, she said it's death by suicide. It's not they killed themselves, because there's an illness. It's no different than death by cancer or death by heart attack or death by whatever, because there's something underlying that person cannot control, and it's a mental health issue. And that's where, from providing support to law enforcement is, if you don't want to say it's a mental health issue, fine, but it is a mental health issue, and it's something you need to provide support for and talk about and provide resources and know where they can go to talk about. And what breaks my heart is from that story you were saying is that officer had called somebody and said, this is what I'm about to do, and they just couldn't find him in time. I had a call like that when I was a law enforcement officer, where a lady called in and said, I'm about to kill myself. And it's even more rare with women, especially with a shotgun, which is what this lady did. And she did, and we couldn't find her. And it was, I mean, it's awful. And it's just that much more awful when it's somebody you know or somebody in your community.
My friend texted me, he said, tell my, thanks for all your help. You're a good friend. Please tell my kids what happened. So I knew it was a suicide text. So I went into detective mode right away. I called him up. I said, where are you right now? And he said, I'm at the Garden City Hotel. I said, what room number are you in? And then he just faded out. So I called up, actually Nassau County Police Department first and told them, and they put me through to the Garden City Police Department. And wouldn't you know that they got it in time? They saved him. He didn't cut his wrist this way. He cut him this way because he read it online that this way is faster.
Mm-hmm.
And I went out there, and I was just getting there right after everything was gone. But what a mess that room was, as far as. But yeah, sometimes it actually, if you're lucky enough, it works out, because it would have been a completely different story and how I felt about the situation if I didn't make it in time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's important to look for the signs, recognize the signs. But as Dr. Steve has said to us on many occasions, if you've seen one suicide, you've seen one suicide. They're not, the commonality is not there. They're all different. So. And
they're all horrible.
Yeah.
They're all horrible. Or even if a different scenario is like when I first became a deputy, I remember I don't know what they call it outside of Florida, but in Florida they call it a Baker Act. So an involuntary commitment, and it's a 3-day. And so we picked up this lady she was wanting to get in. So we ended up helping her get, the judge said, yes, you can be Baker Acted. So we put her in, and I remember, I'll never forget, she was sitting in this hallway, and she looked up at me. This is what she said. She looked up, and I had really long, I don't know, actually I had short hair at the time. So it was like this. She looks up to me and she goes, you and your fucking pretty hair. And I was like, I don't know if I should say thank you or
you
not.
sounded like the Wicked Witch from the West and the Wizard of Oz there.
Yeah. And then maybe, I don't know how long, not that much, with it less than a year. I want to say maybe, I was in training at the time. I think I was still in training. So less than 3 months later, we got called out to this mobile home and walked in, and it was that lady who had committed suicide. And even just in that short amount of time, and then and being a rookie, and just the reality of that setting in, I'm like, oh my gosh, did I do something wrong? Could I have done something else to help that lady? And I didn't know her, but just to know that I had met her when she was alive, and then I saw her after she had committed, and that her son was in the house, and he was going to need a lot of help. His favorite activity was taking those, what is like ninja looking things that are sharp and they can cut you. They're round.
Stars.
What? Yeah. So that was his favorite thing, to throw knives and those. So we walk in the house and we realize this dead lady's there. And then we see the son, and we realize his favorite hobby is throwing knives and sharp things at the wall. And all of a sudden we think, okay, we need to get him out of the house before he starts throwing these things at us. So, I mean, it's the sadness of, but it's those experiences, I think, that are cumulative micro stressors that contribute to an officer maybe taking his life later because they've just seen too much and they don't know how to have an outlet. The thing about, and Dr. Stephen can address this much better than I can, but those things, if you have to address those things because they stay with you, if there has to be an exit, whether it's through mental health exercises or physical exercises or therapy exercises. That's what I want to do, is bring awareness and resources and availability to officers, or conversations around it, to say it does not leave you on its own. You have to proactively do something for that to help you, or it compounds in a very negative way. Unfortunately, and the result could be suicide, and I don't want that to happen.
You with your Mary Elizabeth Mastriano face.
Master Antonio
face. Get away from me, yo.
Just from Scarface. Yeah.
Dr. Washkill says 20 to 40% of suicides don't give us a chance to intervene. And many patients, while in a hospital under observation, are still able to complete suicide, which is sort of
It's heartbreaking.
unnerving, right? Yeah, yeah.
That's why I say it's death by suicide. It's not. There's something under. There's underlying it, and I mean, it's an illness, just like cancer, and it's heartbreaking.
The other thing is sometimes, and Dr. Stephen is on the chat, he can tell me if I'm correct in this, is that it sometimes runs in families. In essence, if someone, your grandfather, your uncle committed suicide, it gives someone down the line almost like permission to do it. Oh, grandpa did it, or Uncle Joey did it,
That's true.
Well, and the trauma of that. I mean, somebody in your life that has committed suicide, that is I don't even know the word you put to that. I've had several close people to me, that I've, not my family, thankfully, but family I've married into, or just very close friends that have lost someone through suicide, and they never recover from that.
No.
So, it's so heartbreaking. The family of the guy that just passed away, death by suicide. That family, I hope that they start now with therapy and don't stop, because there's no stigma. There should be no stigma to therapy. I have a great time talking to my therapist every couple of weeks, sometimes I sit there and say, I don't know if I need this today, but I feel like it's taking my feel-good medicine, and you should take it even when you feel good. So let's, just talk about something. So therapy, I think for sure, for anybody associated
Bridget,
with
our therapy is this podcast. Mark and I do it. We talk to thousands of people, and that's how we.
Stephen, you get those therapists on who gives you tips, and hopefully they're giving you a little
Dr. Stephen has office hours right now. He said 4 specific genes have been identified along with specific developmental factors in regards to suicide. So
wow,
we have one of the world's experts on suicide prevention and the treatment of prevention of suicide. Which is,
What a shame. It seems a lot of times too, it's always the bigger than life person. And also too, when we think about drug overdoses, a lot of them, it's you're taking your own life in a way too, so you have to take those into account as well. And a lot of times it seems like it's always the overly happy person. When I look at the picture of the deputy inspector, because I know somebody that worked with him, and they put up like a personal picture, and they were all out on some racket, and I think it was a game, maybe a Jets or Giants game, all in the tailgating, and he looked so happy there. And I'm sure, unfortunately, I never had a chance to meet him, I don't think, but I'm sure that he was larger than life, probably. These are the type of people that they're suffering on the inside, but when they're outside, I guess they don't want anybody to know, so they go over the top, and they become larger than life people, and they're funny, and they're all, just great to be around. Those are the people that I've won from the job that I know that committed suicide. They were just phenomenal, funny people.
Yeah, me too. The one, thankfully I haven't known that many, but early on in my career, a guy I'd gone to the academy with committed suicide within a year of us getting out of the academy, and I was just blown away. He was so nice and friendly, and just seemed like just not, I don't know, is there a typical person that, I don't know, it's always heartbreaking.
Dr. Stevens says often when a first degree relative or partner supervisor takes their life, it validates suicide as an acceptable coping skill. In essence, that's the sort of hereditariness of a suicide person.
That's sad.
Well, you mentioned the 7 steps, the 7 habits of highly effective people, and a lot of I can't help thinking, but it's a lot of it is kind of sort of constantly working on yourself. Like you mentioned, you still go to therapy when you're not, when you don't even think you need it, And I think constantly working on yourself.
Yep. The last habits, the 7th habit, is called sharpen the saw. And that's where it looks at, do all this work to figure out how this works for you. And then put the steps into place to make that happen all the time. And a lot of it is through your exercise, nutrition, getting proper sleep, and then education, like continually educating yourselves on something, whether it's work related or guitar lessons or language lessons, or because there's a lot of science behind when you're constantly working on educating yourself that stimulates you in a positive way. Meditation is and cops, my husband calls it hippy dippy stuff. And I don't care what you call it. I did recorded a session with a girl this morning on, she's a holistic nutrition coach. And she and I talked about this, and it's something I will tell cops over and over and over again. Call it hippy dippy if you want, but try it for 3 minutes. Just try it for 3 minutes, because there are science that back up how much that can help you as a law enforcement officer from the sharpen the saw perspective, but just to take care of yourself. Just sit for 3 minutes and breathe. There's all these cool apps. I was telling about, there's another one I just found the other day called Sky Tripping. Like tripping is like on acid, but I promise there's no acid involved. But it just is something pretty to look at, and it times you. So just try it for 3 minutes. It's free to download it. Insight Timer is another one. And just sit and be with your breath for 3 minutes, because the breath allows you to get a mind-body connection, and in a way that even if you don't feel it in the moment, it's going to help you later. So that is doing the work on yourself. Just like if you're learning a new language, you don't take a Spanish class one time and know Spanish. You have to work on it all the time. I don't know Spanish. I would have to start from zero. But it's like that. It's a practice. There's not like okay, check, did that. Nope. It's keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it.
I did 30 minutes of breathing today, plus 8 minutes in the cold shower.
Wow.
Yeah. I want to get up to 10, man. The 10 is going to be tough, because 8 is
tough. That's really good for you. Again,
Mark, describe what that is. That's called wind huffing. You got to tell the audience. Not
I've been doing this thing. It's the guy's name is Wim Hof, WHIM. That's his first name, HOF. And what he has is he believes in challenging the cold and how healthy it is for you. So he dips himself in waters out there in Poland, wherever he lives. But if you could do it at home with ice water or a cold shower. So I've been doing it. Today was day 35.
Wow.
And I don't always do 8 minutes. I've gotten up to 8 minutes now, but some days, like tomorrow morning, I have to get up early, so I'll just do 4. But then whenever I have a chance, I try to get back and break the record for me. And it's changed my whole life. I feel fantastic.
Yep.
And the stuff like that, I can't speak for people who commit suicide, because it's not something that I like, but I think there's more to it. I think there's really some. We're all two people. We're all the people that we show people, and then we're also this other person that's when nobody's around, the stuff we do. You know what I'm saying? Who knows what it could be? A lot of it's devious. It's the stuff that and if you let that person be, it's the one that you feed. If you feed this person, so.
I feel like it's. I also don't know what that's like to have suicidal ideation or thoughts, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, and now the guy's an armchair expert, and now my name, his name's escaping me. He's married to an actress. He's an actor. He's really funny, but he's an alcoholic, and he's very open about it. He was sober for I think 16 years or something, and recently had a 2 or 3 day binger, and so he's back out. He's going, but he's really big into AA and supporting other people. One of the things he talks a lot about is when he has somebody who calls him that he's their sponsor and says, "I'm having a really bad day, and here's what I talk about." He always says the first thing I say to them is, "Have you exercised today? Have you done something to take care of your physical body today?" And he say, "No." "Okay, great. Then go spend 30 minutes to 1 hour moving your body and call me back, and then we'll talk about it." And he said that whenever they do that, they come back and they're already starting to feel better. And so that's the sharpen the saw stuff, the benefits of that cold therapy. I do that sometimes. I try. I'm impressed, Mark. I don't have I want to just start with like a 1-minute cold shower, and I just can't.
I did, but if you do the breathing, it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, so I haven't done that yet, so that's good.
Actually, you can conquer it. The whole thing is conquering it. It's never been comfortable. I've never woken up one day or said, "Oh, I'm in the mood for." It's always like, "Oh man, I'm not in the mood today." But I do it. I do it, and when I'm done, I feel great. And when I go in, I don't mess around. Some people do a hot shower first and ease into it. I just put the shower as cold as it can go, and then I do my first I do my breathing, and then by the time I'm ready to go in, and
do you feel like that contributed to your weight loss?
Yeah, absolutely. But I also changed the way I was eating because I was feeling a lot of acidity in my stomach. And it got to a point where I'm like an idiot. Like I go through these, I just keep popping Tums all day and trying to and because I'm allergic to dairy and gluten and all this stuff. And I wasn't paying attention to it. So now I didn't want to live like that anymore. So now it's a little bit better.
That's great.
Ania Banania Strell says the first responders truly know they are human and not just a badge. I ask because I know the heavy expectations of them. Well, I think they should know that because they got to realize they're human beings and that so much is asked of law enforcement, but so much is impossible to do, especially these days. And I think, Bridget, you were talking a lot about self-care. And one of the other reasons that exercise is so important is because it produces a natural chemical called endorphins, which helps to fight depression and feelings of feeling low. And that advice to exercise is, 100%, that's a great idea. And another thing I'm not a member of AA, but I've had a lot of people in my family in AA. And sometimes I think AA is used too much as a therapeutic tool. Like people will get sober and they still go to AA 30 years later, and that becomes their whole life. And I've heard therapists say, if you're sober and you're good with it, you don't need to keep going to AA. But a lot of these people would disagree with you and say, no, I need to keep going. But
what happens if you substituted drinking and hanging out in a bar with hanging out with your sober friends and you enjoy it, then why not go there? Because now if you're home by yourself and you're not around people, your friends are having a good time, you might go for a drink.
Yeah, I think it's a community.
I'm in no way giving advice, but I've heard therapists say that they don't need to continue to go. They're sober, but you're right. That becomes the substitute of their drinking buddies. And
also too, the movie Fight Club was the beginning of it, where he ran into the girl and they would just go into meetings. Just any single meeting that you could possibly go to just to hang out with other people and hear their problems. You know what I'm saying?
And then most people that go to AA, they become coffee addicts.
Yeah.
And sugar and cigarettes too. If you ever went to an AA meeting when people just, when they were allowed to smoke, people smoked, there was like a huge cloud in there. I used to joke because Mark and I both do stand-up comedy. Mark's much more proficient than me. So I was going to open mics. You have to go there to practice your stuff. And I used to do a joke, say, I just go to AA meetings and I don't tell them who I am. And I go up and I do jokes for 10 minutes and then I leave, and I'm not an alcoholic, but it's easier to go to an AA meeting because you don't have to pay for it. And they're not comics, so they laugh at your jokes,
It's funny.
I think that's community. I mean, that's the reason why cops hang out with cops, because it's somebody that they get you, and while I do think cops should try to not be so, I think it's helpful to have people outside of that community to maintain as friends. But I think, I don't do this, but I think the challenge would be if you stop drinking. My brother doesn't really drink that much anymore. And when he stopped at first, he said he definitely felt like he lost friends because that was no longer the world. Yeah, let's go get a drink. Yeah, let's go out to the bar. And he didn't want to do that. And so then his friends changed. And so then it's surrounding yourself with people who, get you and support you. And so I can see that, how they maintain that community for a long time. But certainly, yeah.
No, something, it's funny that I really didn't hang out with cops a lot when I was on the job because I worked so many hours and I was with them enough. I didn't need to always.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes we'd be at work for 2 or 3 days, so we lived
Yeah.
together, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I always know this, and it's probably just indicative of the cop culture is that I feel much safer when I'm around other cops, and I don't
Yeah.
know, you know. I guess it's the whole thing of cops back you up and you back them
Yeah.
up, and they saved your life. You said, you know, and that feeling of safety of being around other cops is a
Mm-hmm.
very nice feeling, you know.
Oh, for sure.
You know what? I had that feeling with the cops, but I also have it around comics too. So I don't know if it's about somebody have your back, but it's somebody that gets you and that you have something in common with. So if you're at a party and you don't know anybody there, there's always that social awkwardness. But at least I
Mm-hmm.
have that one person that, you know, we have this common bond. So the same way, like if I was, you know, we were out at a bar somewhere and, you know, with the cops that I work with, you know, that was, we knew we had each other's back. In the same way, if I'm out with comics, at least I know, okay, if I want to talk to somebody, I got these people here because
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah,
what.
but Mark, if I'm out with comics and I get in trouble, I know I'm on my own.
No, you're not getting in trouble with comics. Man. No, you're well, yeah. It's different.
They laughed. The comics are like, "Oh, Bill's strapped." I said, "Of course I'm strapped. I'm in New York City. I'm carrying." You know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird, you know, that's a whole other weird thing. It's like you could walk into a club, and as soon as you get in, your friend who says, "Hey, we're gonna hang out, we're gonna have a blast all night," he takes off. He starts running around the club by himself, and then you meet somebody like, "Are you here alone?" And like, "No, of course not. My friend's over there. He's somewhere. He's being a degenerate." But if you go to the club by yourself, it's a completely different feeling.
Yeah.
Like you meet somebody, they're like, "Are you here alone?" You're like, "Well, yeah, you can go out alone. It happens. I mean, yeah, I didn't want to be home. Okay, I wanted to be." You know, like you just feel totally different. You're not as confident anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that was it. That was a. What are we going to close out with, Bill? We got to talk about the.
Well, I just want to put the picture of Dennis Mullaney. This is the deputy inspector who took his own life. God bless him and his family. We feel horrible about what
Mm-hmm.
happened, and we wish that someone could have got to him before this happened. But police off the cuff wishes that you rest in peace and God bless your family, Dennis Mullaney.
Absolutely.
And Mark, I want to put up your. I hate to segue to this, but you need to promote this. And
Well, I'm recording a comedy album on April 25th. It's a Sunday, and we're doing 2 shows at the New York Comedy Club on 4th Street. One show's the first show is 7 p.m. and then there's a 9:30 p.m. show. And this album will be heard on Sirius. It will be heard on Apple iTunes, Spotify, anywhere that you can download. And the album's gonna be for sale on all those outlets as well. And this is great material that I've been working on, so I'm excited about it. And if you go to NewYorkComedyClub.com and you put in the code Mark, you can get a $10 ticket as opposed to $25 at the door. So if you're in the area, I'd love to have you. It's going to be a great time. I promise you, you'll love it. It'll be great. You could say you were there.
That's great, Mark. The other thing is next week, Monday, 4/12, Mark is doing the show with a great up-and-coming podcaster, broadcaster, Mike Colon, he's going to be a superstar one day. And I don't know who the hell is Mark's guest because that's his problem while I'm gone. And on Thursday, what's that?
Paul Zito is my guest. Paul is somebody that I went through the academy with, and then he wound up working in Staten Island, got into narcotics, and then wound up being a canine, narco detective. And I always was fascinated by canine, and I know a lot of people are as well. What happens with the dog? You take them home, they become your pet. All this stuff, information we're going to learn about. And he's a very, very funny guy. He's a character. He's from Staten Island, so that's going to be a great show. And then the next one, it's going to be Irma and I, and a guest to be announced. But Irma is always a great guest, and I could bust her chops for 30.
Do you know where Mark? Do you know where Irma is right now?
Yeah, she's in some Biscayne. I don't know
No,
whether.
she's in Costa Rica. I'm like, this girl's going on more vacations than an airline pilot. You know?
Well, yeah, she's got money to burn, man. She's, she works a lot. And she's cracking cases. God bless her, man. You listen. You only got this one life to live, man. If I wasn't such a loser, I'd be.
Well, there's hope for you yet, Mark.
Yeah. You're saying I'm 53 years old. Time's running out.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Bridget, do you have any final thoughts?
I do, yeah. So I'd love for anybody to check out what our program is about. The website is lelwp.com. We include a lot. Every month we have a webinar to provide different information on nutrition, wellness, mental wellness, just physical wellness. May 3rd, we have 2 free webinars coming up on the 14th and the 21st on resiliency. Two tactics for resilience, and then leading up to on May 3rd, we have a full hour-and-a-half webinar on resilience tactics, which relates to suicide prevention because it gives you the tactics to find more comfort, ease, and balance for yourself, so that hopefully you can definitely addresses mental wellness. So I'd love people to check out the website, and you can find all the courses we have. We offer yoga, which I call tactical brain training for law enforcement. I'm going to change some of the names of the courses to call it that. We're on Instagram, so I'd just love for people to start following us and checking us out and seeing all that we have to offer to give back to law enforcement.
Bridget, that's fantastic, and I think people should also know that you're the mom of 3 beautiful children, 2 girls and a boy, and so you have your plate very much full with life and work and everything else.
I've designed my life in a way to have a lot of purpose, and I definitely have 3 beautiful kids. They're 10, 8, and 3, 2 girls and a boy, and then my husband, who's downstairs with them, hopefully feeding dinner. I don't know. It's not my job right now. But yeah, I do. I love it. I thank you for bringing that up because they're
probably waiting for you. When's mommy going to be finished with this thing? We want to eat.
Probably.
She's going to throw in some pot pies in the microwave.
Exactly. How about cereal for dinner?
That's right.
Hey,
Bridget, someone asked, what was the website again?
Oh, it's called the Law Enforcement Legal and Wellness Program. So lelwp.com. And you can also search that on Facebook or Instagram and find the same, other outlets.
Or you could actually just search Bridget's name on LinkedIn or on Facebook, and you'll be able to find it too. So
yeah, definitely.
Our name's right under there.
Yeah, I'm there.
Hey, Tom Scully asked Mark, late show being used to album recording. Yes, both shows. It's a backup. That's the way you do it. It's to just rely on one show. God forbid the sound is not working that great, or for whatever reason something goes screwy. And then you could also mix and match. Some people actually do a weekend. Some people do 2 shows on Friday, 2 shows on Saturday, and then all you got to do is wear the same shirt or whatever you're wearing, and you just mix and match whichever joke works best on whichever set. You can just.
Well, Mark just turns his shirt inside out.
Yeah.
So it looks like a different show, You're on Remember when we first started doing a podcast, we used to shoot 2 in a row, and we would forget to bring another shirt because it looked like it was a different day. Remember that?
Yeah. Why not? Little tricks, behind the scene tricks.
That's right. We have I think we have over 230 shows we've done in 2 years and 3 months. We've been lighting it up a lot lately, doing different things. Mark does a show one-on-one with Mark DeMeo, and I do a real crime stories with Bill Cannon, besides doing police off the cuff.
Yeah, he had a great one with Tommy Dades and Mazza. What was it? Greg Mazza.
Larry Mazza.
Larry Mazza. Yeah. And that was, I heard that one last night driving back from Parts Unknown. And that was great. It's interesting, to hear those stories, and hopefully you can have him back so they can wrap up that the second part of that.
Mark, it's good to know that a hitman has PTSD too. I thought we only had it.
Yeah. I don't think it's affected him as much as anybody.
Probably not. It affects us more than him. It's conscience.
Yeah. Every once in a while, when he's hacking like the head off of like a fish he's gonna eat, he remembers when he.
Yeah, you have a flashback of the
of somebody screaming
of the Joey Black shooting. It's crazy.
All righty. So I think that's it, huh?
Yeah, Bridget, thank you so much for coming
Thanks,
on and
guys.
being a
This is
guest.
really fun. I appreciate all that
And
you guys do.
we wish you the best for your business. We hope you make a lot of money because you're going to need it to pay for the college of your kids when they start getting old.
They're in Catholic school. They're bleeding me dry right now within Catholic school. So it's important to us. I'm glad they're doing it, but good Lord.
Yeah, I know.
Kids are expensive.
Catholic schools have no mercy on you.
Well, good.
Or as they say in New York, Catholic.
Catholic.
That's right.
You go to Catholic school.
That's right.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Tonight's episode of Police Off the Cuff After Hours. And we'll be back. We'll be back on today's Thursday, right? So the next one you won't be here. It's me, Mike Colon, and Paul Zito. And it's going to be a great show. So please tune in there. And that's a wrap. Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for listening.
All right. Have a good
Bye,
night.
Bridget.
Bye.
Bye, Bridget.